You know, if President Trump really wanted to make life miserable for Nicolas Maduro, he would have forced him to watch that Chiefs-Raiders game yesterday. That's what he would have done. 6:04, welcome back. Happy New Year. If this is your first day back to work, first day getting back into your routine, we appreciate you being here as a part of the show. I was here on Friday, kicking off the new year, but, you know, we're unofficially kicking off the new year 2.0 this morning, and man, do we have an enormous news cycle happening in 26. People always say, wow, 25 was busy. What's going to come in 26? Oh, I don't know. How about removing the president of Venezuela and dragging him back to New York City for Operation Absolute Resolve in the middle of the night over the weekend? How about that to kick off your news cycle in 2026? Holy smokes. So this is something that naturally, as someone who grew up and saw George W. Bush screw up Iraq and cost thousands of American lives and spend billions and billions and billions of dollars for something that did not work out for the United States of America, reflexively, I sit here and I say, you know, I'm really not a fan of being an interventionist. I know Lindsey Graham and some other folks are probably upset when they hear that, but I'm not. But when I watched and read more and obviously woke up to the news over the weekend on what happened in Venezuela, it appears to be really just a resounding victory and once again, a quick strike. On top of being one of the most brilliant military operations in American history. Okay, one thing that we have lost touch of, I think, in this country on the left and the right is the ability to want America to rule over this hemisphere. I mean, this is like our backyard, right? And the messes that have been made in Central America and in South America have led to instability, not just in the Western Hemisphere, but all over the world. And has also led to enormous levels of drugs pouring into this country, which is costing upwards of 100,000 American lives every single year. So if you've got some little third world dictator harming our country and interfering with our national interests, why should we not do what this administration just did to Maduro? Why not? International law? What is international law? I mean, the United Nations is like the NCAA. It's worthless. They want to exert power when there's certain things going on, but they have absolutely no teeth to them. When it comes to international law, all that really is the biggest and baddest countries on the planet basically get to do what they want. It's been that way since the beginning of time, and it's always going to be that way. And it's about time that here in the United States, we start acting like it. It doesn't mean that we put our men and women in the military at risk. It doesn't mean that we send them into harm's way and we nation build and we do all these dumb things that we've done over the last 25 years in this country. That's not what it means. But when you've got a little, tin pot dictator down there in South America who's harming our people, who, by the way, both parties wanted to get rid of. Okay? I mean, go back to January 10th of last year, 2025. The Biden administration was offering $25 million for information leading to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, after he assumed a third term in office despite evidence suggesting that he lost Venezuela's recent election. This is something that both sides of the aisle, until the Trump administration actually removed him, agreed on. And look at where it ended up. Look at the protesting you saw here in Kansas City yesterday. I mean, we'll get to that coming up on KCMO. It's a joke. I mean, these people are marching through River Market. And I think the over-under on hair colors was 7.5, if I saw that right, watching on the local news. I mean, it was a comical display of people who just, if Trump did it, it has to be bad. No, Biden wanted this done. Kamala Harris wanted this done. Trump actually did it. That's the difference. Okay? And that's always the difference. For all of Trump's flaws, and God knows he's got many of them. I mean, we all do, but he's got many of them too. He gets stuff done. If you want to use a different S word, be my guest. I've got to stay FCC compliant here. But he gets it done. And you know who else is getting it done, man? Marco Rubio. He has gone from Little Marco to El Marco Grande. I mean, this guy, he just keeps getting bigger and better on the world stage. I'm listening to him yesterday. He's on Meet the Press, and which, by the way, runs at noon here on KCMO. So I'm running errands with the girls yesterday after church. We're getting mom's car clean. We're running into Hy-Vee and, doing all those little things we had to do yesterday to get ready for the week. And in between, I'm fist pumping as Marco Rubio is just slaying it on Meet the Press. It was a thing of beauty to watch because one thing you've heard, Emmanuel Cleaver put this up on social media, of course, our local congressman here in Kansas City. He writes, the president's reckless decision to put our service members in harm's way by attacking a sovereign nation without a coherent rationale or approval from Congress is unconstitutional, destabilizing to the region, and deeply damaging to America's reputation around the world. Yeah, that's Emmanuel Cleaver in his response to President Trump over the weekend and what he did. Really, were you saying that when Biden and Kamala put a $25,000 or $25 million reward on there for information leading to Maduro's arrest? Deeply damaging our reputation? No, you did plenty of that the last 5 years, okay? Here was Marco Rubio responding to that on Meet the Press, and here's what he had to say.
Why didn't that happen, and will it happen with any future action the administration plans to take in Venezuela or elsewhere?
This was not an action that required congressional approval. In fact, it couldn't require congressional approval because this was not an invasion. This is not an extended military operation. This is a very precise operation that involved a couple of hours of action. It was a very delicate operation, too. It was one that required all these conditions to be in place at the right time in the right place. You couldn't afford leaks. We couldn't afford anything out there that would have endangered the mission and gotten people killed or killed off the mission and the optionality. We didn't even know if the mission was going to happen. How can you notify something you're not even sure if it can happen? Because in order for it to happen, you needed to have weather conditions in place. He needed to be at the right place at the right time. We needed to have forces prepared to go. There were a lot of factors in place. It was a trigger-based operation. But you can't notify that, number one, because you don't even know if it's going to happen, if those conditions will ever align. And number two, you can't risk it being disclosed. But this was not an attack on Venezuela. This was a law enforcement function to capture an indicted drug trafficker. And, of course, we needed the Department of War to support it because they do have anti-aircraft missiles that could shoot down those helicopters.
But will you?
We had to take down radars. We had to take down those anti-air elements on the way in and on the way out. And that's what this was limited.
That was Marco Rubio yesterday. Meet the Press. It runs 12 p.m. on Sunday afternoons right here on KCMO Talk Radio. And that's been some of the pushback that you have seen from people who suddenly don't like this. Because, well, if Trump has a win, it must be bad. Emmanuel Cleaver put out a statement like this. You've seen a lot of this being thrown out there as well between people on the left and the right. When, I thought, and maybe this is me being a total sucker, and that's fine, guilty as charged. But I thought maybe we'd turn over the leaf to the new year and say, okay, well, both sides can do a better job acknowledging wins by their political opponents when appropriate. And if this is not one that people can come together on. I mean, even Mayor Lucas was taking a shot at Trump over the weekend on this. And I'm like, Q, would you just stay in your lane, buddy? And would you please just fix the damn potholes, pick up the trash? I mean, get the murders down. And I've had this guy's back. Like, he's not to blame for the Chiefs leaving. I've had his back more than most people in media on this. But, dude, stay out of the what did Trump do in Venezuela and is that the right thing? Please, Q, do yourself a favor.
We need to tone down the rhetoric. I'll go after you. Right?
Such a cute soundbite.
Oh, that's so true. That's exactly what it is, man. That's exactly what it is, John. It is 6:14 on a Monday morning.
Be my guest.
Yeah, of course. Whenever you're ready, okay? You lead the way. I'm not, you. Come on now. You. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic, the response to all of this.
My wife will say, we need to do something, and I'll say, by we, you mean me. That's what we've got going on here.
And you know what? With that spring feel in the air today, you might get a couple of those honey-do lists that involve being outside. It's entirely possible. It's going to be 60 today, man. Let's go.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. Sign me up for that. Happy New Year. It is great to be back, kicking off 2026 with you here on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Pete Mundo. Hit that 95.7 FM on your preset. If you haven't done that, do that for us. A little gift to start the new year. What do you say? We appreciate you being here as always. Coming up, well, yesterday, as I started off the show by saying, was just, oh my goodness, that was hideous for the Chiefs. But what does it mean for the offseason? And Mark is going to float a great conspiracy that many of you want to know about coming up next. All right, I'm going to admit something here. Yesterday, as I'm watching the Chiefs taking on the Raiders in just what was a pitiful game, although back and forth at the end, Raiders get a 14-12 win. I turned off the game for a period of time, all right? I turned it off for about 20 minutes before we were set to eat dinner because it was getting hairy at the house and the girls needed a little bluey. So I said, you know what? I can't deal with this right now. I'm banging my head against the wall watching the game. It was probably 7-minute mark of the third quarter. Mom's trying to get dinner ready. We're just trying to have a little peace and quiet.
Shane Buechele entered the game.
I literally said to Claire, I said, Oladokin's out. She's like, what did he do? I'm like, well, it's more about what he didn't do, okay? Guy stinks. Trying to explain to her how, once you get to the NFL, you actually have to perform. You can't just, get to be the quarterback of the Chiefs. Woo! So Shane Buechele comes in. It's getting hairy in the house. It's one of the ugliest football games you'll ever watch. And I said, I'm putting on a couple of blueies. So I bailed on the game for about 15 or 20 minutes yesterday. And then, of course, you have this back-and-forth final couple of minutes. They're trading field goals left and right. We almost had the first ever 12-11 game in NFL history.
I was pulling for that.
I was, too. I like that kind of nerdy stuff. I was like, if I've got to sit here and watch this torturous football game for 3 hours, I might as well say I watched history, right? I mean, that was going to be something that when I'm sitting on a rocking chair in about 50 years, I'll be like, yeah, I saw the only 12-11 game in NFL history. Unfortunately, the Raiders had other plans, and they win the game on a late field goal, 14-12. So the Chiefs end the season with 6 straight losses. And I never thought I'd be sitting there leaving the Colts game in late November saying, I just saw the last Chiefs win of the season, but that was the last win of the season. They lost 6 in a row to wrap up the year, John.
Yeah, that 14-12 scoreline kind of belies the actual autopsy there, right? We had a safety in there, and you wouldn't know it looking at the scoreline. A lot of times you'll look at the score and go, what happened there? How do you get to that number? Must have been a safety, and it's disguised in there.
Correct.
You're
right about that. Absolutely. So you think, 14, 2 touchdowns. Nope, nope.
No touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. So now the Chiefs are going to have the 9th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. This is their highest draft position since 2013 when they held the number 1 overall pick and they selected Eric Fisher, offensive tackle. So they are picking number 9 right after the Saints and right before the Bengals. So I like that. Get in front of the Bengals. Both teams went 6-11. Mark, I got to imagine now those seasons been over for like 11 and a half hours. Have you done a mock draft yet?
Oh, yeah. David Bailey's coming to the Chiefs from Texas Tech. Let's go.
David Bailey, pass rusher for the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah, I think he's going to go top 5, so I don't think he's going to fall to us. But if he does, got to take him.
Okay. Would you trade up for him?
I don't think we can trade up.
Okay.
We got to stay.
I wouldn't be trading up either. You need too much right now. You can't be trading up. But you want a pass rusher is the moral of the story as well, if you had your druthers right now.
I think so. Or Peter Woods from Clemson, defensive tackle.
Okay. You want a defensive lineman?
Yeah.
All right.
I do too.
All right. Both guys on the other side of the glass want a defensive lineman for the Chiefs. I'm not opposed to that. I watched a lot of David Bailey. I watched a lot of Texas Tech this year. He transferred from Stanford, and he was a monster this season in the Big 12. And he was great last week, even though they got blown out by Oregon. He was fantastic, John.
A little more push up the middle might have helped Karlaftis, Minihue, and Gelati did pretty well, but it could have been even better maybe with a little more push up the middle.
Well, Andy Reid didn't sound disappointed. He goes, now it's up to Brett with this high draft pick to do his thing with his guys. It's like they kind of understood the mission, it seemed like, the last couple of weeks. I'll just say that much. Because the Raiders already had the number 1 pick going into the game yesterday. So the Raiders had that number 1 pick locked up, so they get to end the season on a high note and feel good about themselves. And then the Chiefs, with that loss, move into the top 10 of the NFL draft. So good for them.
Every score I was torn. Wait, do I want this one? Yeah, okay. I'm good. I'm
take
good
it.
with the Raiders scoring. I'm good with the Chiefs scoring. Like you said, the positions were kind of locked up by that point, I think.
Exactly. Now, the big question yesterday, too, is did we watch Travis Kelce for the final time play in the NFL? And Mark is convinced now the answer is no. Mark thinks he's coming back. Why do you think that's the case, Mark?
Yeah, the last month I thought he was going to be retiring, and then after yesterday I'm switching my opinion here because there's no way that his mom wouldn't be at his final game. There's no way that Taylor wouldn't be at his final game. I just don't see that happening. So
The guest list.
For Travis to go out like that and on a 6-game losing streak, I just don't think that's going to happen. So I think he's coming back for one more.
Now, do you think he's coming back to Kansas City, or do you think he could end up playing somewhere else in Los Angeles or New York or somewhere that, Taylor Swift might already own property?
I think he's coming back to Kansas City.
You do?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a 1-year deal. Probably it's not going to be as expensive
They
as
can't
he
pay
was.
him almost $20 million
I know,
a year.
It's going to be on a cheaper deal, but
You
I
think
he
his
can do
ego
it.
will take that? He's okay with that?
I think he's a team guy.
I mean,
Chiefs.
he's coming off a $17 million salary.
I know.
That's big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he performed pretty well. If you get Travis Kelce back with the season that he had this year, and you're paying him $10 million, like, that's a good deal.
Yeah.
If
it's something like that, I think they can do it.
You can't pay this guy who's going to be 37 years old next year $17 to $20 million bucks.
Yeah.
You just
Hopefully
can't
a
do
new
it.
offensive coordinator, too.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point as well.
He'll be that.
Yeah.
Let's make Travis that. That'll take care of it.
Claire was fascinated yesterday. She goes, how old is Travis? Because I keep saying, hey, this might be his last game. I said, he's 36, so he's a year younger than Dad. And she goes, and he's still not married? I'm like, that's probably what his mom's been telling him for years. Okay? That's why he found Taylor Swift. He's getting married this year. She's like blown away. Why is he not married?
Suddenly Donna Kelce's following Claire on social media.
That was her first response. He's still not married? Well, he's getting married this year. He's getting around to it, all right? Some of us are late bloomers in more ways than one. So Mark's got the prediction. You heard it here first. January 5th, the hot take of 26. Travis Kelce's coming back.
And David Bailey in the first round.
And David Bailey in the first round. There you go. All right. Coming up on KCMO Talk Radio, what were the Purple Hairs doing yesterday around Kansas City? Protesting Trump over Maduro? We have the audio next. Yeah, Luke Doris, give me more of this, buddy. I will take this. 60 degrees this afternoon on a January 5th. Sign me up. Now, as a result, you had some good weather over the weekend, relatively speaking, for early January. Not as nice as today, but nice enough for the protesters to be out and about because, well, Orange Man bad, and Trump can't possibly arrest a third world dictator who, by the way, the Biden administration also wanted to arrest with a $25 million offer out there. Yes, that's right, from the Biden administration on information that led to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. That was less than a year ago, before the Biden administration left office, that they were offering that $25 million. So Trump, and not Trump, but obviously his team, pulls off an incredible operation over the weekend. They get in, they get out. Thankfully, all of our American troops were involved. There were a couple of injuries, according to the president, but nobody was seriously hurt and nobody died. They pull this thing off in the middle of the night into Saturday morning, and Maduro is now in New York City. And Maduro is set to appear in Manhattan federal court today. He's being held right now in a Brooklyn jail, and no truth to the rumors they've got the Chiefs Raiders on loop for this guy as he gets set to appear in court today. But, if they really want to stick it to him, they could absolutely do that. Along with the play-by-play guy yesterday.
There you go. You read my mind
he
right
was
this
horrible.
second.
I felt like I was watching an ESPN Plus game of some D3 basketball game in the middle of, early November. That was terrible. My gosh, that was amateur hour yesterday.
Yep, Kyle played here, but
Kyle Long,
Yeah.
and the play-by-play guy, he stunk too.
Oh, they were.
It was just a bad broadcast
My wife
crew.
was like, "What did he say?" I said, "He took too many words to make his point. He made something about detractors saying some gent he couldn't catch, and it just took forever."
Oh, that was bad. That was really bad. But these people are protesting. City Market is where the protest took place in Kansas City, but there were others also in Overland Park. Take a listen to this guy, David Klassen, KCTV5. He was at 75th and Metcalf on Saturday protesting President Trump arresting Nicolas Maduro out of Venezuela.
I was just so shocked. I mean, I knew he was going after Venezuela, but to actually capture the president like that, oh my gosh. For Trump to pull something like this is just unconscionable. There's no reason. There's no right.
There's no reason. No, it's not that the guy literally did not leave office after a fraudulent election. It's not that he is pushing drugs all over the world, including the United States, where people are dying by the tens of thousands a year. No, there was no reason, says this guy who's interviewed by KCTV5, David Klassen. He sounds absolutely outraged, doesn't he? Oh, man, he is fed up. Do you think he knows that the prior administration was offering $25 million on information that led to the arrest of Maduro? Do you think that David Klassen, the protester standing at 75th and Metcalf, who was interviewed by KCTV5, do you think he knew that? Now, I don't know if our old friend Larry in Prairie Village was there as well. I don't even know what he looks like, so I didn't see him. I didn't hear his voice. But, man, I'm like, you guys got to at least get your facts right on this stuff. There's a lot of things you can say about the administration that you don't like, and that's fine. That's America. That's what makes the world go round. But this one, I mean, you're twisting yourself into a pretzel over this thing. You're not making any sense. And then KCTV5 was down at City Market over the weekend, and here's what the protest sounded like and the protesters sounded like versus a group of Venezuelans in Kansas City and what they were saying over the weekend.
Over 100 people came here to the City Market Park to protest what happened overnight in Venezuela. This isn't the first time that they've protested American actions in that country, but one protester told me that today felt different. Stop bombing Venezuela! Signs reading "No blood for oil" and U.S. out of the Caribbean could be seen as chants of no more wars for empires could be heard as the group marched down 3rd Street.
No war in Venezuela! There's a lot more energy here today, and that is true across the country. People in this country are not pro-war. They don't want it.
On the other side of town, Venezuelans living in the metro were shocked at the news.
When people say, oh, you guys are celebrating the invasion of the United States to Venezuela. No, we are not celebrating that. What we are celebrating is that it's the beginning of the end of this system, which is a horrible system.
Many who gathered fled Venezuela years ago, not knowing if they would be able to ever go back.
Venezuelans celebrating. Venezuelans longing for the day when maybe they can go back to their home country and visit family and visit friends and live in peace. People who change their hair color every other day and their gender every other week are outraged. What's that tell you? White people very upset. Venezuelans saying this is a win for not just their home country, but also a win for the Western Hemisphere, and as a result, the rest of the world. And this is not about it. You've heard this, maybe you haven't, but it was made very clear over the weekend by the president, by his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, that this is not about war in Venezuela. If it is, I'll turn on this thing in a heartbeat. And I believe most Americans will, because the one thing they do get right when it comes to those protesters is there is no appetite for nation building or war right now, on the left or the right. There isn't. But it's just like the strikes in Iran. Have we suddenly entered Iran and tried to nation build Iran? Or did we just send a message last summer that was, you know what, you guys want to keep screwing with us? There's going to be a price to pay. Maduro, according to multiple reports over the last couple of weeks, you had the Trump administration and President Trump in particular basically waiting for this guy to turn himself in. They had this operation on the back burner, and they were waiting for Maduro to turn himself in. Never did it. And then Trump said, finally, we got to go. And they had to wait for the right conditions. They were practicing this thing for months, but they had to wait for the right weather conditions. They were in, they were out, apparently from the moment they landed in Venezuela. And Maduro lives on a military base. To the time they captured the guy, it was a grand total of 3 minutes. Think about that. Think about how incredible of a mission that is, to pull that off in 3 minutes. And yes, there were bombs as well at Caracas. Since then, anything? No, because it's not about war with Venezuela. It's not. This was actually a bipartisan thing until 5 minutes ago. So this organization that was behind these protests, there were protests in 100 cities, including here in Kansas City over the weekend. It was a group that describes itself as a Marxist, socialist, and communist. That's the group that led these protests and pushed through these protests over the weekend. Breakthrough News is one of the publications that was first starting to promote these protests that were taking place, and all the flyers look the same. The top of the flyer says, "Emergency Day of Action, No War on Venezuela, Stop the Bombings." And it just had different cities, Times Square, Chicago, Los Angeles, here in Kansas City. But once again, 100 cities around the country had basically the same call to action for protesters. It was predictable. And it was one very far left-wing group advocating for these protests all over the country. That's what it was. So the whole world is watching as Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is being transferred to a Manhattan federal court after he was captured by American forces over the weekend. He will face charges related to cocaine trafficking. The president reiterating that the United States would call the shots in Venezuela. Now, no word on whether or not Marco Rubio is about to have his seventh job. I mean, there were a lot of memes like that over the weekend that the Secretary of State, it's kind of like working in radio. You've got 7 different jobs when you work in radio, and Marco Rubio is trying to top that as he tries to add an 8th job to his list. He does so well at the other 7, the president is saying, give him an 8th job.
I saw Lane Kiffin was looking at the job, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin.
Getting ready to jump into the portal again.
Oh, gosh, what a bum he is.
Coaching the president.
Oh, goodness gracious. I will say this much about Marco Rubio. I watched him. He was on Meet the Press yesterday, which aired at noon here on KCMO. He was on all the Sunday shows. He is becoming so good. Like, I think that there's this assumption that J.D. Vance is going to be basically handed the reins from Trump in 28. Marco's resume has become much more impressive than J.D. Vance's. Like, J.D. is like the guy who's the leader on the debate team and is fantastic in those settings and is great at zingers on social media and in debates. But Marco Rubio's gotten a lot better. And frankly, he's got a lot more depth at this point in his career than J.D. Vance, who served a couple of years in the Senate. And, yeah, I mean, he's the vice president, but let's be honest. He's not doing a lot of the legwork. That's not the job. So Marco's coming in hot. But the best thing I saw over the weekend from a comedy perspective, and this was just absolutely fantastic. This guy's name is Sean Farash. He did a 2-minute impression of President Trump announcing the capture of Nicolas Maduro. And first off, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between Trump and Sean Farash. And here's what he had to say.
My fellow Americans, it is my great honor to announce the capture of Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro, a very nasty person with a very stupid mustache. He's very stupid. And he broke what's called the Trump doctrine. F around and find out. And he effed around for too long. And now we found out. Our beautiful men and women of our military entered his home through a hole that was created after we attached Chris Christie to a wrecking ball. We blew a big, beautiful hole in the house, and they said to me, "Sir, we found him, sir. He's sleeping like a baby." in Hello Kitty pajamas, believe it or not. He was in Hello Kitty pajamas, sucking his thumb in the fetal position. They said to me, "Sir, what do you want us to do, sir?" I said, "Get him out," and they got him out. I want to congratulate the new president of Venezuela, Marco Rubio. He's going to do a tremendous job, just like he does in all of his jobs, but he's going to be a great president of Venezuela. They call him El Marco Grande, right? El Marco Grande. That means Big Marco. He's Big Marco now. But when we convict Maduro, we're going to shave off that horrible, stupid mustache, and we're looking at where to send him. We're looking at CCOT. It's a beautiful place in El Salvador, a very tough place. And if he goes there, maybe the Democrats can have a margarita with him. You know, they like to do that, so maybe they can do that. Or we may send him to Somalia. There's no worse punishment than to send a person to a complete dump of a country. It's a dump. I call it a sugar honey iced tea hole. You know what I'm talking about, Somalia. It's a very nasty place. But the days of Maduro sending drugs and gang members into our country are over. Tren de Aragua, they used to be Tren de Aquí, now they're Tren de Adios, they're Tren de Annihilated. And let this serve as a message to the rest of the world. If you're a dictator who threatens the United States, including the Ayatollah of Iran and his many wives or goats or whatever the hell he's doing in that cave, we're going to come for you too. Do not break the Trump doctrine. F around and find out. If you abide by it, you're not going to have a problem. But if you break the Trump doctrine, you're going to have a lot of problems. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Oh, my goodness. That is absolutely incredible. That is great
Show
stuff.
some RESPICT.
That comedian is Sean Farash. You can find him.
Adios.
I like the idea of
Several great ones in there.
Chris Christie putting the hole through the side of Maduro's house, sucking his thumb in the fetal position in his Hello Kitty pajamas. That was great.
Put a big, beautiful hole in the wall. That's where I lost it. Big, beautiful hole.
Oh, that was unbelievable. That is so well written. And the cadence, the way that Trump repeats things and leans into the words and how he says it, that was spot on. And he has a little growl to his voice when he repeats something and adds a little emphasis to it. That was perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I'll share it on X at Pete Mundo. You can see it there from Sean Farash. That was unbelievable commentary from him. I don't care who you are. That was perfect. I'll put it up on I'll try to get it up on my Instagram stories as well at Pete Mundo if you want to see it there. That was great.
Getting it on our X page right
Oh,
now.
you are? Okay, good. Get it on the KCMO Talk Radio X page too. And this was Trump actually last night, just hours ago, Air Force One. Here's what he had to say. And by the way, you won't be able to tell the difference between Sean Farash and President Trump.
It's about peace on earth.
How is it peace on earth?
Peace on earth. We got to have peace. It's our hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine was very important when it was done, and other presidents, a lot of them, they lost sight of it. I didn't. I didn't lose sight. But it really is. It's peace on earth.
You can't tell the difference. I can't tell the difference. Let's be honest. But that was the real President Trump on Air Force One early this morning. And it's the old Ronald Reagan peace through strength. This is not about nation building. This is not about some large-scale war. This is about a targeted removal of somebody that President Biden and Kamala Harris claimed that they wanted to arrest. They had $25 million out there floating for someone to lead to the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. That's what this was about. A third world dictator removing him in our Western Hemisphere and then moving on.